I torched the family Bible in the backyard fire pit at midnight, watching the pages curl like the lies they'd fed me for years. The flames licking up Grandma's handwritten recipes and Dad's baptism certificate until nothing but ash whispered their sins to the stars. My sister called the next morning, her voice cracking like cheap glass, begging me to come home because the feds were circling the ruins of that godforsaken diner like vultures on a fresh kill. And yeah, I hung up laughing, because after what they did, family wasn't blood anymore. It was just a debt I was finally calling in. But here's the hook that still guts me. I didn't just burn the book. I kept the one page with the inscription from Mom. Remy, fight for justice, no matter the cost. And now, as their lawyer of last resort, I'm twisting that into the shank that'll carve them open. The rain-slicked streets of Brooklyn smelled like wet asphalt and regret that October evening when I first stepped off the subway at DeKalb Avenue. My cheap umbrella fighting a losing battle against the downpour. I was 22, fresh out of undergrad with a poli-sci degree that felt like a participation trophy, and a duffel bag stuffed with dreams of law school and escaping the chokehold of our family's endless hustle. Mom and Dad had promised the savings account they'd scrimped into since I was a kid. Every overtime shift at the auto shop and double shift at the hospital funneled into Remy's future fund. It was our ticket out, they said. The American dream distilled into compound interest and blind faith. I crashed at Aunt Lena's brownstone, the one with the sagging porch and the Virgin Mary statue chipped from too many New York winters. She hugged me like I was still the scrawny kid who'd cry over scraped knees, her arms thick with the scent of cocoa butter and cigarette smoke. Your folks miss you, Remy, she lied through her teeth, pouring me a mug of instant coffee that tasted like battery acid. That restaurant's gonna be the death of them. The restaurant. Yeah, that was the first crack in the facade. Dad had always talked big about making it legit, ditching the grease monkey life for something with white tablecloths and a liquor license. Mom backed him. Of course, her nursing scrubs traded for dreams of hostess shifts in pearls. They'd named it Harbor Lights Diner, after the lighthouse on the Jersey Shore where they'd honeymooned before I was born. Sounded poetic, right? Like a beacon for immigrant drivers like us, second-generation Haitians clawing for a slice of the pie. But poetry doesn't pay bills. I didn't know the half of it then. I was too busy grinding temp jobs at law firms downtown, fetching coffee for partners who eyed my cornrows like they were a threat to billable hours. Every paycheck, I'd wire a chunk to the fund, watching the balance creep up on the bank's app like a heartbeat monitor. $12,347. $15,920. $22,001. It was my anchor, proof that in this country, you could bootstrap your way to the top if you just believed hard enough. Aunt Lena filled me in over plates of griot and plantains, her voice dropping low like she was spilling state secrets. They took a second mortgage on the house, Remy, and loans from folks you don't want to know.
Folks.
In Brooklyn, that word carried weight, shady uncles with gold chains and corner storefronts that laundered more than dirty money. The diner opened with a bang, ribbon cutting, local news clip with Dad grinning under a grand opening banner, Mom in a red dress that hugged her curves like it was auditioning for a Scorsese flick. Social media blew up, Harbor Lights vibes. Selfies of influencers munching avocado toast with a harbor view. For 3 months, it hummed. Then the reviews trickled in, overpriced slop, service slower than a DMV line, felt like eating in a funeral home. I shrugged it off at first. Family businesses flop all the time. It's the cost of swinging for the fences in a city that eats dreamers alive. But when I visited that Christmas, the place was a ghost town. Empty booths. Menus sticky with neglect. Dad nursing a whiskey behind the bar while Mom scrubbed counters like she could wash away the debt. "It's temporary. Baby," she whispered, pressing a 20 into my palm like I was still in high school. "You're fun safe. That's priority one." Liar. But I believed her, because that's what you do when love's the only currency you've got left. I plunged back into applications: Harvard, Yale, Columbia, tailoring essays about rising from bed-stewy blocks to bench trials, quoting MLK and Thurgood Marshall like scripture. Acceptance letters came. Fat envelopes promising the world. But the tuition numbers? They laughed in my face. $65,000 a year. My fund topped out at $28,400 after 4 years of sacrifice. It wasn't enough, but it was a start. I'd bridge the gap with loans, scholarships, whatever it took. Then the call came in February, right as snow blanketed the fire escapes like a bad omen. Dad's voice, gravelly from too many Marlboros. "Remy, we gotta talk. Come home this weekend." I drove up from my internship in Manhattan. The Impala's heater blasting against the chill. Radio tuned to Hot 97 blasting Jay-Z tracks about hustling harder. Home was the split level in Flatbush. The one with the chain-link fence and the basketball hoop Dad had welded himself. Mom met me at the door, her eyes red-rimmed, hugging me so tight I felt her ribs. Inside, the living room smelled like takeout, lo mein, and desperation. They sat me down on the sagging couch, Dad twisting a beer cap like it owed him money. The diner's underwater. "Son." Debts piling up faster than the Hudson at high tide. My stomach dropped. Underwater how bad? Bad enough that they needed everything. The fund. All of it. It was a loan. Mom rushed in, her hands fluttering like trapped birds. "Just temporary. We'll pay it back. Promise. A loan. To family. From me." I stared at the coffee table, scarred from years of coasters and spills, and felt the world tilt. That money, nights I skipped meals, Christmases I worked retail so they wouldn't have to, was gone, funneled into fryers and faulty plumbing. "You didn't ask," I said, voice flat as the East River. Dad's jaw tightened. "We didn't want to burden you, Remy. You're the golden child. Law school, big firm, corner office, that's your path. We thought we could handle it. Golden child." The word stuck like barbs. I was the one who'd taken the fall for sister's shoplifting bust at 14, lied to the cops, said it was me, because she was fragile, needed protecting. I'd swallowed detentions, community service, the whole juvenile rap sheet, all while she partied through high school. And now this. Betrayal didn't come with a neon sign. It crept in like fog off the bay. I didn't scream. Didn't storm out. I just nodded, numb, and drove back to the city with the radio off. The silence louder than any argument. Law school? I'd figured out. Loans up to my eyeballs. Night classes at CUNY. Clerking for peanuts. Because that's what survivors do. We adapt. We grind. We turn scars into armor. But deep down, in the pit where resentment festers, I started plotting. Not revenge yet, just survival. The seeds were planted that night, watered by every rejection letter and ramen dinner. Months blurred into a grind. I aced the LSAT on my 3rd try. Scored in the 95th percentile because spite's a hell of a motivator. CUNY Law took me. Full ride on merit. But the loans for living expenses? They chained me like Marley's ghost. I rented a walk-up in Crown Heights. Walls thin enough to hear the neighbors' fights. And studied by the glow of a desk lamp that buzzed like a swarm of doubts. Summers. I interned at a pro bono firm in the Bronx, defending tenants against slumlords who looked at me like I was the help. "You're tough, Remy," my supervisor said, a white lady from Scarsdale with a law degree from Stanford. "But law's a machine. It chews up the angry ones first." Angry?
Nah.
I was calibrated.
Precise.
Every late-night cram session, I'd scroll through family group chats, Sister Lila posting thirst traps from Miami Vacaries, funded by who knows what. Dad's cryptic updates on restructuring the biz, Mom's prayers for better days. The diner limped on. A zombie joint with flickering neon and a menu shrunk to burgers and regret. Creditors called, liens piled up. But they never mentioned the fund. Not once. Like it was a ghost they'd exorcised. By graduation, I was 180 credits deep, top of my class, and buried under $120,000 in debt. The bar exam? Passed on the first go, because failure wasn't an option, not after they'd bet my future on a roulette wheel. I landed at a mid-tier firm in Midtown, Harrison and Locke, the kind that reps banks and bullies small fry into settlements. My title, associate. My reality, billable hours that bled into weekends. Partners who patted my back while poaching my ideas. But the paycheck? It paid the interest, kept the wolves at bay. That's when the cracks in their empire started spiderwebbing. Lila called first, her voice all sugar and sobs. "Remy, I need advice." Like, legal advice. Turned out, she'd borrowed from the diners till to fund her influencer side hustle, fake lashes, sponsored posts, the whole Instagram grift. The books didn't balance. Auditors smelled blood. Dad? He'd signed off on creative accounting with a connected investor, code for a loan shark named Marco Vitali, whose family tree branched into organized something or other. Mom? She'd forged a doctor's note to dodge a deposition, claiming stress leave from the hospital. It hit the fan in a deposition room downtown. Fluorescent lights, buzzing like angry hornets. I wasn't there yet, but the fallout rippled. Feds from the Southern District sniffing around for wire fraud. RICO whispers in the wind. The diner shuttered overnight. Yellow tape fluttering like surrender flags. Family scattered. Dad to a motel in Jersey. Mom crashing with cousins in Queens. Lila ghosting everyone but her followers. Then the call. The one that dragged me back into the muck. Mom's number on my screen at 2 a.m. Voicemail trembling. "Remy? Baby. It's bad. They're coming for everything. The house. Your sister's freedom. Your father's life. We need you. You're a lawyer now." Our lawyer. I played it back 3 times. The words sinking like lead. Our lawyer. As if blood bought loyalty. As if they hadn't flushed my dreams down the drain for a greasy spoon that served up nothing but lies. I could have said no. Transferred the case to legal aid. Washed my hands clean. But here's the thing about revenge. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon with landmines. I said yes. Not for them, for the slow burn, the calculated unraveling. I'd represent them.
All right.
But on my terms. The kind that'd leave scars deeper than any courtroom loss. The firm's conference room at Harrison and Locke felt like a pressure cooker disguised as luxury, glass walls etched with abstract waves, a mahogany table long enough to host the Last Supper, and a Keurig that spat out coffee bitter as betrayal. I paced at that first client meeting, loafers scuffing the Persian rug, while my paralegal, Jamal ex-Army, built like a linebacker, flipped through the discovery files like they were playing cards in a high-stakes poker game. "This is messy, Remy," he muttered, his gold tooth glinting under the recessed lights. "Your folks? They're drowning in quicksand here. And that's sisters."
Phew.
"She's the anchor." Messy didn't cover it. The indictment was a beast. 18 U.S.C. Section 1343 for wire fraud. Section 1956 for money laundering. Tossed in like garnishes on a shit sandwich. Dad had funneled investor cash through the diner's POS system, doctoring receipts to look like legit revenue. Lila? She'd posed as a shell vendor, invoicing Phantom Beauty supplies to siphon funds. Mom's forgery? The cherry on top. A Class D felony that could have landed her in Bedford Hills for years. Marco Vitale's name dotted the margins like footnotes from hell, loans at 20% VIG. Collateral on the family Camry and Grandma's heirloom ring. They filed in single file. A funeral procession in ill-fitting clothes, Dad first, Paunch straining his polo, eyes darting like a cornered rat, Mom next, clutching her purse like a life raft. Her scrubs swapped for a thrift store blouse, Lila last, in yoga pants and a crop top that screamed, "Influencer on the lam," her acrylics tapping nervously on her phone. The air thickened as they sat, the weight of 20 years unspoken debts pressing down. "Remy," Mom started, reaching across the table. But I sidestepped, perching on the credenza instead, close enough to advise, far enough to remind them this wasn't family dinner. "Thank you for this. God's got a plan. Save the sermon."
Ma.
My voice came out sharper than intended, slicing the tension like a gavel. Dad winced. Lila scrolled her feed, pretending not to hear. "We're here for facts. Start with the fund." Silence crashed in, heavier than the rain pattering the windows. Dad cleared his throat. That old mechanic's hack from years of exhaust fumes. "It was one time, son. We thought the diner turnaround. A bridge loan. That's all. One time." I echoed it, flipping open the bank statements I'd subpoenaed. Irony's a bitch. Using their own tools against them. Transfers, $10,000 in March, $8,000 in June. The rest trickled out like blood from a slow leak. Total drain, $28,400. My tuition gap. My deferred dreams. You didn't bridge shit. You burned it. Mom's eyes welled. The crocodile tears I'd seen too many times at school plays, hospital shifts, the diner's soft opening. We were desperate. Baby. Bills stacking. Collectors calling. Your father. He couldn't sleep. I couldn't watch him break. Like I hadn't shattered grinding night shifts to pad that account. Like I hadn't confessed to Lila's crime. Spent weekends in juvenile hall mopping floors while she sipped mocktails at Sweet Sixteens.
And me?
I was supposed to what? Wave a wand? I'm not Jesus.
Ma.
I'm the one you left holding the bag. Lila finally looked up, her full lips pursed in that pout she'd weaponized since braces. Okay. Drama king. We get it, you're salty. But this is bigger than your little college fund. We're family. Blood. Family? I laughed. Low and mirthless, the sound bouncing off the glass like a ricochet. Jamal shifted. Uncomfortable, he knew better than to wade into this swamp. Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't lie. Family doesn't let their son tank his future so they can play Gordon Gekko with a spatula. Dad leaned forward, veins bulging in his neck like overpressured hoses. Watch your tone.
Boy.
We raised you. Put food on your plate. That fund? It was ours to manage.
Ours.
The word ignited something primal. A fuse I'd banked for years. I slammed the folder shut, papers rattling like gunfire. Raised me? You outsourced that to Aunt Lena and PBS while you chase shadows. And that fund? It had my name on it, Remy's future. Not Harbor Lights slush pile. You stole my shot, Dad. All of it. The room hung in suspended animation, the AC humming a dirge. Mom dabbed her eyes, whispering prayers in Creole that sounded hollow as a bounce check. Lila rolled hers, muttering "get over it" under her breath. Dad just stared, defeated, the fighter who'd thrown in the towel rounds ago. I exhaled, reining it in. Revenge wasn't a bar brawl, it was chess. Black King advancing slow. Look, the feds have a slam dunk if we don't pivot. Plea out early. Cooperate. Maybe shave time off. But Vitali? He's the wild card. Testify against him. And we flip the script. Your debtors become the defendants. Their faces lit with false hope, the kind that flickers before blackout. You can do that? Lila perked up, scenting salvation. Like, make him the bad guy. Bad guys are relative.
Sis. But yeah.
I can try.
Try.
The word tasted like ash. What I meant was manipulate, leverage, bury them under the weight of their own greed while I pulled strings from the shadows. We wrapped with assignments, Dad on timelines, Mom on docs, Lila off socials, no more posts that could be traced. As they filed out, Mom lingered, pressing a saint medallion into my palm. Forgive us, Remy. We're still your blood. I pocketed it, smiling thin. Blood washes out.
Ma.
But ink, that's permanent. Back at my desk, overlooking the fluorescent sprawl of Midtown, I cracked a Red Bull and dove into Vitali's file. Marco, 48, 5'8" of compact menace. Ran a consulting firm out of Bensonhurst that consulted on everything from construction bids to concrete shoes. His loans to the diner? Secured with promissory notes that read like mob poetry, late payments resolved via kneecaps or keys to family Volvos. But buried in the fine print, a side deal. Dad hadn't just borrowed, he'd collateralized something bigger. The house deed?
No.
Something personal. I cross-referenced bank cams, subpoenaed emails. Their thread from Dad to Marco. Timestamped 2:17 a.m. It's done. The kid's clean. Fund transfer complete. We're square. The kid. Me. A cold sweat prickled my neck. They'd framed me?
No worse.
They'd used my identity. Pulled a strawman loan in my name. Forged SIG on the app. Routed the cash through my fund to launder it clean. Feds hadn't caught it yet, it was too slick, buried under layers of diner BS. My hands shook as I printed it, the laser whirring like a conspirator. This wasn't just theft, it was identity fraud. Felony territory. They'd hung my future around their necks like a noose. And if the DA dug deeper, my bar license, my career, poof. Smoke. But here's the twist that kept me up till dawn. Part of me didn't care. Let it burn. I'd risen from their ashes once. I could do it again. No, this was leverage.
Pure.
Unadulterated power. Represent them? Hell yes. But I'd wield that secret like a scalpel. carving concessions, flipping alliances, until they begged for the mercy I'd never grant. Jamal knocked later, brow furrowed. You good?
Boss.
Look like you saw a ghost. Worse, I said, folding the printout into my briefcase. Family, he chuckled, clapping my shoulder. Ain't that always the killer?
Killer.
Yeah. And I was just getting warmed up. The weeks blurred into a war room frenzy. Depositions in windowless rooms that smelled of stale sweat and styrofoam cups. I grilled Dad on the stand, off record. Of course, his alibi's crumbling like day-old beignet. Marco approached me at the VFW, he admitted. Voice a rasp. Said he could float us. No bank bullshit. Just needed collateral. Collateral. I pressed.
Pen poised.
What did you offer? He hesitated, glancing at Mom's empty chair. She'd called in sick again. Your name? Son. Clean credit. No priors. It was supposed to be temporary. Sign here. Transfer there, boom. Cash in hand.
Temporary.
The word again. Like a bad habit. I'd checked my credit report that morning. Inquiries from lenders I'd never heard of. A dinged score that had cost me my apartment deposit last year. And when it blew up, you didn't think to tell me? Let me take the heat. Dad's eyes dropped. Thought we could fix it quiet. Protect you.
Protect.
The lie tasted sour. I leaned in, voice low. You hung me out to dry, Dad. If this leaks, I'm disbarred. Finished. He flinched, the big man shrinking. Won't happen. You're smart. Smarter than us. Smarter. Damn right. And that smarts would be their undoing. Lila's turn came next. In a Starbucks near her pop-up in Williamsburg, vegan tacos that nobody ate. She arrived late, latte in hand, hair in space buns that screamed, I'm above this. So, what do I say if the suits ask about the invoices? Truth. I lied. Sipping black coffee that burned going down. You consulted for the diner. Beauty tips for staff. Harmless. Her laugh tinkled like wind chimes in a hurricane. Truth? Okay. Mr. Lawyer. Truth is, I needed seed money for my brand. Dad said it'd be cool. Family discount. Family discount. On fraud. And the posts, tagging Marco's club for promo. She shrugged. Scrolling. Networking. Remy. Brooklyn Small. You gotta connect.
Connect.
To wise guys. I slid the email printout across, her CC'd on the fund transfer. Timestamp matching her Coachella ticket buy. This connect get you front row to felonies? Her face paled. Acrylics freezing mid-tap. What the? I didn't know. Bullshit. I kept my tone even. But inside, the rage simmered. She'd always been the golden girl. The one who batted lashes and got bailouts. Me? The fixer. The fall guy. You knew enough to ghost when the feds knocked. She teared up. Weapon deployed. You're supposed to help. Not grill me like a perp. I'm your counsel. Lila. Helping means owning your shit. Or I walk. And you face it solo. She sniffled, nodding. Fine. I'll play nice. But you gotta promise, no snitching to Mom. Promise. The word hung. Ironic. I'd promise the moon if it served the play. By month's end, we'd cut a proffer deal with the AUSA, a wiry guy named Kessler. All Ivy ambition and cheap ties. Immunity for Dad on the big charges, in exchange for flipping on Vitaly. Mom's forgery? Misdemeanor slap. Probation. Lila? Community service. Her brand rebranded as penance. It was a lifeline, fragile as wet tissue. But as we signed in that sterile courthouse hallway, fluorescent buzz mocking us, I felt the shift. Power tilting my way. They needed me, not just as son, as savior. And saviors? They extract tolls. That night, alone in my apartment with the city thrumming below, I poured a Scotch single malt, a splurge, and toasted the mirror. To debts, I murmured. And collections. Little did I know, the real debt was just surfacing. Vitaly didn't flip easy. And buried in his ledgers, a secret that'd make their betrayal look like child's play. Vitaly's office squatted in the shadow of the Verrazano, a nondescript warehouse in Staten Island that smelled of diesel and deceit. I drove out alone. No Jamal this time, too hot for backups. The Impala's tires crunched gravel as I parked under a sodium lamp that flickered like a dying pulse, casting the lot in orange paranoia. This wasn't discovery, this was reconnaissance, the kind that gets lawyers tailed or tuned up. But knowledge is currency, and I was here to mint some. Marco waited inside, perched on a crate amid pallets of what smelled like canned tomatoes, legit import biz. Or so the paperwork claimed. He was smaller than his rep, wiry frame in a track suit, salt and pepper buzz cut, eyes like polished onyx that sized me up without blinking. Two goons flanked him, meaty types with earpieces and the blank stares of men who'd broken more bones than promises. Mr. Baptiste, he drawled, Brooklyn accent thick as marinara. Heard you were the hotshot cleanin' up your pop's mess.
Sit.
Coffee. I declined, perching on a stool that wobbled under my weight. Mr.
Vitaly.
Appreciate the time. This is informal, off books. My clients want to square up. He chuckled. A wet rumble, sipping from a styrofoam cup. Square up? Your old man's owe me 150 large. Plus vig. That's 200 now. With interest like a Vegas slot. Informal my ass, this is collections.
Clients.
Plural. I'd looped them in on the meat. Prep scripts. Dad's remorse. Mom's tears. Lila's gratitude. But as Marco leaned in, breath sour with espresso, I saw the hook. Heard about the fun trick.
Cute.
Using the kid's name, your name, to wash it clean. Feds miss that yet. My pulse kicked. But I kept the mask. Ancient history. We're here to resolve. Not rehash. Resolve. He spat the word, grinning wolfish. Tell me, counselor, ever wonder why your pops picked you? Clean slate. Yeah. But something else. Something buried.
Buried.
The word echoed, dredging unease. I'd always known Dad had shadows, whispers of old favors from his cab-driving days. Bailouts for uncles who'd had a run of bad luck. But me? Collateral in flesh. Marco slid a folder across, yellowed edges curling like claws. Take a peek. Courtesy of mutual friends. Inside, photocopies. Grainy but damning. Hospital records, my birth. Mom's C-section. Dated 1997. Then affidavits. Sworn statements from a PI firm in Miami. Lila's DNA test? No, something uglier. Paternity dispute. Dad wasn't my biological father. Some fling from Mom's nursing school days. A med student named A2O Laurent who'd bolted when the stick turned pink. Dad, real dad. The man who'd raised me knew. Covered it up. Used it as leverage for his own arrangements with Marco's crew back in the 90s. The fund? It wasn't just savings, it was hush money, layered over blood debt. I closed the folder, stomach churning like bad chowder. This relevant how? Marco's grin widened. Relevant? It's the root.
Kid.
Your pops owed me, Granddad. Old beef from Haiti import scams.
Etienne?
He was the mark. Skipped town with product. Your ma got knocked up. Your pops stepped in, married her despite the ghost. But the debt lingered. That fund? It was payoff. Funneled through you to keep it quiet. Clean kid for dirty laundry. The warehouse spun. Crates blurring into monoliths. All those years, Dad's distance. The way he'd eye me during family toasts like I was a puzzle piece that didn't fit. Mom's overcompensating hugs. Lila's casual cruelties. It wasn't neglect, it was guilt. They'd built our life on a lie, and I'd borne the weight without knowing the bars. Why tell me? My voice cracked, betraying the armor. Because blood's thicker than ink. Remy. But secrets? They bleed eternal. Help me collect from them, and this stays buried. Or I unbury it. Your bar card?
Poof.
And family? They'll disown you faster than a bad bet. Threat wrapped in olive branch. Classic Vitali, flip the board. Make you question your kings. I pocketed the folder. Standing slow. Appreciate the history lesson. I'll relay the offer. He nodded. Goons parting like Red Sea mussel. Smart boy. Run fast.
Though.
Clocks tick. The drive back was a blur. Verrazano lights streaking like accusations. I pulled over at a rest stop. Puked into the weeds, scotch from last night. Coffee.
Rage. Paternity.
The word hammered, rewriting my DNA. But anger? It crystallized. This wasn't just theft, it was erasure. They'd let me carry a ghost's sins, framed me as the outsider in my own blood. Back in Brooklyn, I confronted them, not in a boardroom, but the old kitchen. Formica counters scarred from knife fights and knife-edge words. They were there strategizing, picking at cold pizza, the air thick with denial. Remy, Mom lit up, then dimmed at my face. What's wrong? Baby. I slapped the folder down, pages fanning like a bad hand. Everything. Start with A2O Laurent. Dad froze mid-bite. Pepperoni grease on his chin. Lila's phone clattered. Mom? She deflated, sinking into a chair like her bones had turned to lead. How? Dad rasped. Doesn't matter. Marco's got the receipts. You knew. All of you. And you let me. We protected you. Mom surged up, voice shrill. That man? He was poison, left us high and dry. Your father.
He chose you.
Loved you like his own. His own. I barked a laugh, bitter as quinine. You used me. The fund. The loans, my name as the patsy. To bury your dirt. Dad's face crumpled. The tough guy facade cracking. It was one lie. Son. To keep the family whole. Etienne's shadow. It would have destroyed us. The diner? That was redemption. Fresh start. Redemption. For them. I paced. The linoleum squeaking protest. And when it tanked, You doubled down, dragged me under. My law career? It's tainted now. One leak. And I'm done. Lila piped up, voice small.
We didn't mean.
I mean, you're still you, Remy. DNA don't change that, doesn't it? I whirled on her. You mocked me my whole life, half bro, step whatever. Was that intuition? Or just cruelty? She flushed, eyes down. It was a kid. Jealous. You were the smart one. The favorite. The myth shattered. I turned to Dad. The man I'd called father. His hands trembling on the table. Why me? Why not fight fair, tell the truth? Let me choose. He met my gaze. Finally. Eyes wet. Because truth breaks. Remy. Lies, they bend. I couldn't lose you. Not after.
After.
The unspoken hung. After he'd signed on to raise another man's son. Swallowed pride for love or leverage or both. It humanized him. Damn it, made the monster mortal. And that's when the controversy crept in. Was he villain or victim? Scapegoat for Mom's past? Or architect of the cage? I exhaled. The fight leaching out. The deal with Marco. Testify. Pay up slow. Or he outs it all. Your call. Mom sobbed, clutching my sleeve. We'll fix it. Together. Together. The word mocked. But I nodded, the chess master yielding upon.
For now.
The proffer hearing loomed. A week out in Foley Square. The federal courthouse, a colossus of marble and judgment. Kessler, the AUSA, circled like a shark, lean, hungry, with a Yale pin on his lapel that screamed privilege. We met in a cafe off Chambers. Steam fogging the windows. The air ripe with espresso and anxiety. You're flip solid, he said, scanning notes on his tablet. Vitali's crew's been on our radar, extortion ring. Half the boroughs. Dad testifies clean. We dropped the big hammers. But that fund angle? Sloppy. Identity fraud's a 10-spot minimum. Ancient, I countered. Stirring sugar I didn't need. Clients were desperate. No intent. He smirked, eyes sharp. Intense for philosophers. Counselor. Feds care about paper trails. And yours? It's a highway to hell. Highway.
Apt.
I leaned in, voice confidential. Hypothetically, if there's dirt on Vitali beyond the loans? Leverage to bury the fund. Kessler's brow arched. Hypo noted. But dirt's double-edged. Cuts your clients too. Double-edged. The dilemma gnawed. Expose the paternity to gut Marco's hold. Risk torching my family, or let it fester. A cancer in the bond. Controversy brewed. Readers would split. Team truth. Shatter the illusion. Or team silence. Preserve the fragile piece? As we wrapped. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Voicemail later. Marco's gravel. TikTok.
Remy.
Choose sides. Family or future.
Sides.
Like I hadn't been choosing since birth. That night, insomnia's grip tight, I wandered the apartment. Walls closing in. Photos mocked from shelves. Me and Dad at Citi Field. Bats cracked. Mom at my graduation. Beaming false pride. Lies layered thick. But beneath? Glimmers his bedtime stories in Creole. Her lullabies through fevers. Was revenge erasure? Or reclamation? Dawn broke gray. And I decided play both. Flip Vitali. Shield the secret. Collect my due in quiet ways, therapy bills, back tuition demands, the slow bleed of obligation. But as the sun clawed higher, a text from Lila. Found something in Dad's safe.
Call me. Now.
The something? A letter. Yellowed. From Etienne. Dated last month. I'm coming for my son. The board flipped. Game on. Etienne Lawrence's letter hit like a gut punch wrapped in vellum, handwritten script looping elegant. The kind of penmanship that screamed old money and older regrets. Lila read it aloud over speaker, her voice pitching high in the empty diner, wind whistling through boarded windows like ghosts at a wake. Remy, my son. I've watched from afar, pieced the puzzle your mother hid. Blood calls to blood.
Meet me.
Miami. Before the wolves close in. Postmarked Coconut Grove. Scented faintly of salt air and second chances. Dad snatched it when she finished, crumpling it like trash. Bullshit. Man's a ghost, 28 years silent. Now this? He's after blood money. Not bonding. Mom paced the diner's back office, heels clicking on cracked linoleum, her nurse's poise fraying at the edges. He doesn't know about the debts.
Jacques.
Or the trial. This is coincidence. Fate. Maybe.
Fate.
I almost laughed, but the weight pressed too heavy. We'd convened here post-text. The harbor lights a tomb of faded glory, upside-down stools on counters. Cobwebs veiling the specials board. Today's soup, Mom's regret. It was neutral ground. Or as neutral as family graveyards get. Coincidence, my ass, Lila snapped, arms crossed over her crop top, defiance masking fear. With the feds and Marco? Timing's suspect. What if he's Kessler's plant? Paranoia. Thy name is Baptiste. But she wasn't wrong, threads tangled tighter than a noose. I smoothed the letter on the desk. Tracing the signature, yell. Underlined firm. Doesn't matter whose side he's on. He drops this now. It blows the proffer. Paternity bombshell in court? Our immunity evaporates. Perjury. Obstruction. The works. Dad slumped into a booth. Head in hands. I told you. Marie. Secrets rot. Should have burned it when it came. Mom whirled. Fire in her eyes. Burned it? And what? Let our boy grow up fatherless in truth. You stepped up.
Jacques.
Faults and all.
Faults.
The floodgates cracked. Arguments erupted like 4th of July. Dad hurling. You chased him first. Her. The med student fling during a hospital rotation. Mom countering, and you used it, leveraged my shame for your deals. Lila waded in. Y'all toxic, always pitting us kids against your mess.
Me?
Silent sentinel. Cataloging ammunition. Every barb a chink in their armor. Every tear a debt marker. Finally, I raised a hand, voiced the lawyer's calm. Enough. Etienne's a variable. We neutralize him. Lila, you found this, where? Dad's safe. Behind the loose panel in the pantry. With old ledgers. Marco's notes. And this. She slid an envelope. Unsealed. Inside, a check stub. $5,000 to E. Laurent Trust, dated 5 years back. Dad's handwriting. My gaze pinned him. Hush money. He nodded.
Defeated.
He surfaced once. PI tracked him. Rich now. Pharma exec in Florida. Wanted contact. I paid to vanish. Again. $5,000. I whistled low. From where? The fund. Silence damned him. Mom gasped. Lila cursed. The theft deepened. My future not just spent, but siphoned to silence the sperm donor. You paid off my ghost with my ghost, I said. Words ice. Classy. It's not, Dad started, but I cut him. Save it. We fly to Miami. Confront him. Gauge intent. If he's legit, we control the narrative. If not, we bury him deeper. They balked Mom's shifts. Dad's parole officer, ankle monitor from a prior dust-up. Lila's vibe. But I lawyered hard. Refuse, and I withdraw. Solo defendants get public defenders who couldn't plea a parking ticket. Grudging nods. Wheels up Friday. Red eye on Spirit, irony. Flying budget to chase blood ties. Miami hit like a fever dream, humidity thick as guilt. Palm fronds slapping the rental's windshield like accusations. We piled into a daze in off 95. Rooms adjoining like conjoined regrets. That night, over conch fritters at a dive bar, Yangling sweating on Formica, I laid ground rules. I'm lead. No side convos.
No sob stories.
We extract facts. Exit clean. Dawn meeting at his address. A modernist pile in Coral Gables. Glass and white stucco screaming success. Etienne answer himself, mid-50s. Salt-flecked beard. Linen shirt unbuttoned casual. Eyes my mirror. Dark. Probing. Remy, he breathed. Like a prayer answered. You came. We settled in a lanai overlooking a pool that shimmered azure. Ceiling fans whirring lazy. No goons. No wire, just truth serum and tension. He poured cafecito. Strong and sweet, handing me mine with a hand that trembled faint. I was young. Foolish. Your mother. She was fire. When she chose silence, I respected it. But time erodes respect. Respect, Dad snorted from his rot-tan chair. Mom shushing him frantic. You mean cowardice. Bolting when the test confirmed. Etienne's gaze hardened, flicking to me. Cowardice? I built an empire from nothing, patents, boardrooms.
But the boy.
You deserved better than scraps. Scraps. The word stung. Validating the outsider, ache-eyed nursed subconscious. Better how? I pressed. Notebook open lawyer mode. Distancing the man from the myth. He leaned forward. Elbows on knees.
Truth.
I knew about the debts. Old contacts in New York finance. Marco's a pest. But surmountable. I can pay them off. Clean slate. In exchange.
Time.
With you.
Time.
The offer dangled. Controversial as hell, a stranger buying sonship with bailout bucks. Mom bristled. He's not for sale.
Etienne.
Dad glowered. We managed fine. Lila? Texting under the table. Probably live tweeting the drama. I probed deeper. Timelines. Motives. The letter's timing. Postmarked after the indictment. Coincidence. His laugh was rueful.
No.
I monitored discreetly. When the news hit on the diner fraud, I saw opportunity. Help the family. Claim my place. Opportunity. Or opportunism. The split loomed. Hero swooping in. Or vulture scenting carrion. I excused to the restroom. Splashing water. Staring at a face that now echoed his, jawline sharper. Brows arch same. Blood calls. But whose tune? Back out. The pitch escalated. Wire the funds, Etienne urged. iPad glowing with bank apps. 150K covers Vitali, plus buffer. I testify if needed, character for Jacques. Remorse for Marie. Dad's eyes narrowed. And the catch? Always a catch.
None.
Just dinners.
Calls.
A relationship. His gaze locked mine. Remy. The room held breath. Accept? Instant salvation. But strings attached, rewriting history. Sidelining the man who'd bandaged my knees. Decline? Drag the trial. Risk ruin. Preserve the lie that had shaped me. Controversy peaked. No clean right. Just shades of wrong. I need air, I muttered, stepping onto the lawn. Humidity cloaking like a shroud. Phone buzzed Kessler. Proffer tomorrow. Bring heat on Vitali. Ordeals off. Pressure cooker hissing. Inside. Voices rose. Mom pleading, don't disrupt. Dad growling, he's poison. Lila hissing, take the money. Idiots. Etienne calm. The spider in the web. I re-entered. Decision crystallizing. We take it. But terms. Funds first. No contact till post-trial. And DNA confirmation. Independent lab. Proof over promises. Etienne nodded. Gracious in victory. Fair. As we drove back. AC blasting against the heat. Silence stewed. Lila broke it. You're really gonna let him in? After everything? Everything. I glanced rear view. Catching Dad's haunted eyes. That's the point. Everything changes. But change? It was a Trojan horse. That night. Hotel bar. I nursed a rum neat. Scrolling Etienne's LinkedIn. Pharma kingpin. Philanthropy boards. A life of polished edges. Text from Jamal. Vitali's crew tailed your rental. Careful.
Tailed.
The flip. Marco smelling the defection. Next on. Wired funds hit. $200K. Clean as a whistle. Kessler hooped at the proffer. Vitali's empire crumbling under Etienne's anonymous tips, funneled through me. Of course. Climax brewed. Trial in weeks. My family teetering on salvation's edge. But fractures widening. Was Etienne ally or accelerant? Dad's jealousy festering. Mom's guilt gnawing. Lila's opportunism blooming. Then the call, Marco. Voice venom. Heard about Daddy Warbucks.
Cute.
But I got insurance. That letter? Just the appetizer. Dig deeper. Counselor. Your real legacy's in Haiti.
Haiti. The root.
And as thunder rumbled over the Everglades, I realized the betrayal wasn't theft. It was origin. The sins predated me. A chain I'd forge or shatter. Back in New York, the courthouse loomed like Judgment Day. Vultures circled, press sniffing scandal. Vitali's remnants glaring from the gallery. My opening. Paint the family as dupes. Marco the devil. But as I stood, tie straight, heart pounding, Etienne's text buzzed. Proud of you, son. Break them, son. The word ignited. I broke the code. Not revenge on family, but on the lie. Testimony twisted, Dad's confession laced with Etienne's dirt. Buried deals from 90s rum running. Feds ate it. Vitali folded mid-trial. Plea for 15 to life. Acquittals rippled. Mom probation. Lila diversion. Dad time served, house arrest. Cheers in the hallway. Hugs tentative. But as confetti fell metaphorical, I pulled Dad aside. The fund? Wired back tomorrow. Plus interest. Call it restitution. He nodded, tears streaking. Proud. Son. Always was.
Proud.
Echo of Etienne. The split deepened. Forgive the flawed father. Or chase the phantom. The gavel's echo still rang in my ears weeks later. A hollow gong marking not victory, but intermission. Acquittals handed down like pardons from a reluctant judge. Mom's forgery downgraded to a misdemeanor slap on the wrist. Community service at a free clinic where irony bit deepest. Lila's charges diverted to some influencer rehab program. Ethical branding, seminars that'd make her roll her eyes harder than a slot machine. Dad? House arrest for a year. Ankle bracelet chafing, like the noose he'd dodged.
Vitali?
15 years in Otisville. His empire auctioned off to pay victims, us included. A pittance that barely covered the diner's ghost rent. We celebrated, or pretended to, in the Flatbush living room. The same sagging couch now propped with throw pillows from Mom's hospital gift shop. Takeout from Golden Crust. Jerk chicken steaming. Rice and peas fragrant. Plantains crisp as fresh starts. Toasts clinked with red solo cups of Barbancourt rum. Lila snapping pics for her gratitude post. Family first vibes blessed overcame. Laughter bubbled forced. Undercut by the unspoken. Etienne's shadow lengthening. His funds a bomb that burned. He'd wired the rest post-trial, another $50K. For your practice, routed through a Cayman account that screamed tax haven. I'd funneled it straight to my loans, chipping the debt mountain, but the taint lingered. Every payment felt like blood money, buying silence from a man who'd sired me but never shaped me. Dinner started tentative, Zoom calls from his Miami penthouse, dissecting my cases over virtual plates of griot he'd courier. You're a natural. Remy, he'd say, voice warm as conch chowder. Justice suits you.
Suits me.
The pun landed bitter. At Harrison and Locke, partners patted backs. Baptiste, you flipped a Rico like a pro, but whispers followed. That family mess? Connected? My billable soared. But trust? Fractured. Jamal cornered me one lunch at the firm deli. Pastrami on rye sweating between us. You look haunted.
Man.
Like you won the war but lost the peace.
Peace.
I scoffed. Mustard sharp on my tongue. In law, that's for suckers. He eyed me steady.
Nah.
This deeper. That blood test, clean match. DNA results had come certified, 99.9% Etienne. I'd filed them away. A footnote to the farce. Clean as a whistle. But whistles blow.
Jamal.
Sometimes they echo. Echoes. They did. Dad noticed first the subtle shifts, my pauses before pops, the way I'd check Etienne's texts mid-dinner. One night, post-rum buzz. He cornered me in the garage. Amid oil cans and the Impalas had propped like an open confession. He's weaseling in, ain't he? Promising the world to steal your soul. Soul? I wiped grease from hands that'd never turned a wrench like his. You sold that first, hush money for my fund to his trust. He winced. The old fighter telegraphing a haymaker.
Touché.
But I raised you. Remy. Changed diapers. Cheered bleachers. Lied to cops for your sister's screw-ups. DNA's chemistry. Family's choice.
Choice.
The controversy crested here. Waves crashing reader factions. Cling to the hearth-forged bond. Flawed but fierce. Or chase the genetic grail. Pristine but vacant? I clapped his shoulder. The gesture foreign. Maybe both. Or neither. Hell if I know. But hell no. Etienne escalated. Invites to board meetings. Shadow me. Learn the game. I flew down. First class on his dime. The cabin hush luxury mocking my coach-hopping youth. His world? Shark tanks. Patent disputes in glass towers. Schmoozes with senators over stone crabs. This is legacy. Son, he murmured post-deal, clinking glasses in a rooftop bar overlooking Biscayne Bay. City lights fractal as ambition. Not courtrooms, boardrooms. Real power.
Power.
It seduced. The clean kill over gritty brawls. But as he monologued empires, I spotted the flip. Eyes darting to his phone. A text from an unknown. Lauron. Old Lauron deck calls. Haiti. Marco's ghost? Or deeper, back north. The unraveling accelerated. Lila imploded first, her rebrand tanking. Sponsors bailing after a leaked deposition clip went viral. Influencer admits fraud fiasco. She crashed at mine. Mascara streaked. Railing against unfair karma. Why you? Remy? Golden boy gets the mystery dad. The clean slate.
Me?
Scraps. Scraps? I handed her tissues. The walk-up's futons sagging under us. You cash plenty till raids. Fake invoices. Own it, she sobbed, lashes clumping. I did. For us. Dad's dreams. Mom's pride. You think I wanted this? Wanted. The confession cracked her veneer, the cunning sibling. Flip-flopper extraordinaire. Revealed as echo of parental sins. We all wanted. Lila. But wanting's free.
Paying?
That's the bitch. She crashed their weeks. Our bond thawing uneasy, movie nights with bootleg rum. Her makeup tutorials funding my coffee runs. But resentment simmered, her casual, Etienne's cool. Right. Jabs at dad's calls. Pleading don't ghost us. Mom mediated. Her shifts trimmed to part-time. Nursing wounds instead of patients. Balance it. Baby, she'd urge over FaceTime. Saint medallion glinting. Hearts big enough for two fathers.
2.
The math mocked divide loyalty, dilute truth. Dad countered with actions, rebuilt the Impala's engine. A piece offering rumbling in the drive. Take her for a spin. Remember who taught you stick. I did. Windows down. Jay-Z blasting. Brooklyn blurring. But the radio crackled news. Pharma mogul Etienne Lauron indicted. International money laundering. Ties to Haitian cartels. My foot slammed brakes. Tires screeching symphony. The pieces snapped. His clean funds? Laundered through pharma shells. Old 90s debts to rum lords in Port-au-Prince. Debts Dad's family had entangled. The Lauron name collateral across oceans. Etienne hadn't bailed. He'd run. Building empires on the same rot he'd fled. The letter? Not redemption or recruitment. Pulling me into the web. I confronted him that night. Video call jagged on bad Wi-Fi. Indictment real? His face. Pixelated. Crumpled genteel. Misunderstanding. Remy. Old business. Competitors smearing. Bullshit. I leaned close. Screen glare harsh. Haiti. The debts you used me to. Wired dirty money to save your ass. Same as Dad.
Pause.
Eternal. Survival. Son. In this game. Rage boiled. Uncorked. You sired me then vanished. Now recruit me? I'm no pawn.
Etienne.
I'm the closer. I hung up, heart hammering, and drove to Flatbush. They waited, whole. Fractured family, on the porch. Aunt Lena's brownies cooling inside. Dad rose.
Tentative.
News. Everything. I spilled. Indictments. Webs. The lies full at us. Gasps. Curses.
Then. Quiet.
Mom's hand on mine. We end it. Together. Together. The word redeemed.
Tentative.
But the twist? Kessler called Dawn. Laurent flipped.
On you.
Remy. Says you knew. Funneled the wire yourself. Identity fraud. Full circle.
Me.
The frame. Etienne's final flip. Cunning to the core. Sacrificing son for self. Feds inbound. Bar under review. Controversy detonated. Innocent dupe. Or complicit kin. Readers split. Prosecute the patriarchs. Or pity the puppet. I didn't run. Called my own counsel, Jamal. Moonlighting and prepped the counter. Logs. Timestamps. The folder for Marco proving the setup. Trial loomed. Smaller stakes, but soul deep. Family rallied. Dad testifying my character. Mom's affidavits. Lila's social blitz, justice for Remy. Verdict? Acquittal. Razor thin, jury hung on reasonable doubt, Etienne's empire crumbling in his stead. He pled out. 20 years federal. His legacy, a cell block view. Aftermath.
Bittersweet fog.
I quit Harrison. Hung a shingle in Bed-Stuy, Baptiste and Associates. Pro bono heavy. Grinding for the overlooked. Dad joined as consultant, wrenching files instead of engines. Mom, back full-time. Her hugs unburdened. Lila, co-partner. Her brand authentic hustle, scars as selling points.
Etienne?
Letters from prison. Please for one visit. I burned them. Ashes joining the Bibles in memory. Forgiveness? Maybe someday. But closure? That's the American lie, we chase it. But it slips like smoke.
Now.
Rain lashes my office window. Clients waiting. The city pulsed defiant. They spent my fund. Stole my blood. Framed my future. But I reclaimed it all, not with fire. But forge. Justice isn't clean. It's contested. Controversial. The gray where humans thrive. And if that's the twist, heroes as villains. Kin as killers, well, debate it over drinks.
Me?
I'll be billing hours. Debt-free. Finally.